Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mohan, and I take care of customer support at Kredily. Welcome to today's webinar. So, in today's webinar, we are going to learn the functionalities and the features of Kredily. And we are largely going to focus on the payroll module of Kredily, and we are trying to understand how to process payroll and what are the procedures that I should follow, and what are the data that I should add in the system in order to generate pay slips and get the salary sheet of my company for any given month. So to do that, I will first navigate to the payroll module. And in payroll module, let us learn what exactly is the process and what all should I do. As a layman, if I don't know anything about using Kredily as a software, what should I do is what we are going to learn. So now the very first thing, as you might know, the process of running payroll or the process of generating payslips for your employees consists of a lot of other things as well, wherein you will have to add your PF data, your PT data, your income tax, your other deductions, and everything. That's what you need to do in Kredily as well. So the basic settings is the first and foremost thing that we need to do in a system. So here I'm going to the payroll settings tab, the advanced settings tab, in that the payroll settings tab. So here you get an option to do the very basic settings which do not need an explanation and which is self-explanatory. Here you put your pay frequency, your pay cycle, your leave and attendance cycle, your payout date, your date of joining cutoff date, and everything. Then you will include or exclude weekly offs, and the same with holidays as well. And also you get an option to choose your PF, and PF is a very robust module in Credily. You can define PF as per your organizational preference. Whatever it is, you can define that in Credily. You can make it as 12% of basic salary, or you can make it as 12% of the entire gross, or you can add a fixed amount, or you can add a custom formula. So when I say custom formula, you can select which component should be considered for your provident fund, and 12% of that will be calculated as your PF. Also, you can choose if it has to be 12% or even 15% or whatever percent. So you have an entire option to entirely change your PF. So here I'm going to keep it as 12% of basic, which is what largely followed in India. And then I also have an option to enable or disable statutory minimum. Statutory minimum is an option which will allow your system to calculate PF only on 15,000 rupees, regardless of how much is your basic. So even if your basic is like 40,000 or 50,000 a month, the PF will only be calculated on this amount, which will be 1,800 rupees a month. And you also have an option to make your PF as loss of pay dependent or loss of pay independent. I'm going to turn it off for my organization. If you want, you can turn that on. And the next option is your employer PF contribution. This you can include in CTC, or you can exclude this from CTC as well, again depending on your organizational preference. And you can also override PF for any individual employees, and that's what this individual PF override is all about. Now, if you want to change PF only for one employee in your entire organization, this option will allow you to do that. And it's always recommended that you keep the individual override option on, no matter which component you're dealing with. The last option is your admin charges. You can include or exclude admin charges, PF admin charges. In employee CTC, you can add it, or you can exclude it from the CTC. So I'm going to save that. The next option is your ESI. There's nothing much to define here in ESI, because it's the default thing. 0.75% of the gross is your employee's contribution, 3.25% of gross is the employer's contribution. And you can exclude or include employer's contribution from employee CTC. And again, individual override option is also given in your ESI. For whatever reason you want to change your ESI value, which we do not recommend, but if at all you want to change it, you have an option to do that. And this is where you do all of it by just clicking on the edit option here. You can change PF, you can turn off PF, turn on ESI, turn it off, change the values, whatever you want to do. And the next option is your PT. In PT, you don't have to remember the professional tax of each state in India. Just turn it on and define which state your employee belongs to, and accordingly, the system will calculate professional tax. And this is such an easy and a simple way of calculating professional tax. Just have to define the location, and according to the gross salary, according to what he is earning, according to the gender in few states, the professional tax will be calculated by the system automatically. And the next option is your declaration settings. This is where you as an organization can set a window for your employees to submit their income tax declarations. Now in my organization, I've told the system to keep the window on only between 1st of April 2021 to 31st of December 2021. That means within this date, my employees should submit their declaration so that their income tax calculations, their income tax deductions can get adjusted or distributed for 12 months. You can change the date, you can change the window as per your preference. And the next option is your components. This is where you will create all the components that's needed for your organization. And again, when I say components, you have an option to create multiple or different types of components. One is your basic components, which are also your statutory components, which means these components are mandatory in all the salary structure, like your basic, your HRA, PFESI, and special allowance. And apart from that, you have an option to create recurring salary components as well. When I say recurring salary components, these are the components which occur or recur every month. When I say that, every month's salary of your employees will consist this salary component. That could be anything: your medical allowance, your vehicle allowance, your conveyance, or leave travel allowance, gratuity, phone reimbursements, could be anything. And there is no limitations to create these components as well. You can create any number of salary components as per your company's policy or as per your company's salary structure. And once the components are created, first of all, I would like to say this: most of the components that are used by the companies are already created. These are the presets that Kredily is providing already. You don't have to create anything. But if at all you need a component which is something very different, in that case you can create the component here. Just give whatever name you want to give. I'm going to create a component called as medical allowance. You can include it or exclude it from the CTC. If you want proof to give this component, you can say proof required, yes. And should this be taxable, non-taxable, that's a call you need to take. Obviously, any earning will be taxable. Do you want to individually override this component for a certain employees? I always recommend that you keep this on. Then your LOP dependency. So depending on the number of days your employees worked, the component will be prorated and given to your employees. Now you can make it a flat value for this component. For example, you just type 50,000, and the value of this component will be defined as 50,000. Or if you want to put a formula there, let's say I want it to be 10% of 10% of CTC. In that case, you just mention CTC into 10%, or basic into 10%, or basic into 25%. Whatever formula you want to add here, you can add. Otherwise, you can also keep it slab wise. So now when I say slab wise, you can define for which salary category how much should be this component. So now if the salary is between 0 to 3 lakhs, the component's value will be 15,000. And if the salary is between 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs, the value of this component will be 25,000. And if my salary is between 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, then the value of this component will be 30,000. So depending on the salary, depending on the CTC of your employee, the values that I've entered here will get assigned to your employee's salary structure. Okay, you can either keep it slab-wise or flat. So I'm going to keep it flat for now. And just save it. Okay, and you can do this, you can create any number of components, you can define it as per your preference. There is no limitations on that. And the next option is the variable component option. Even here, in variable component, you will get an option to create any number of structure. Variable components are basically those salary components which do not come every month. It's definitely not a recurring salary component. It could be recurring, but we don't have a constraint which says that it should be recurring. It could come in every month's salary for your employees. Let's say incentives. If your employee is performing every month, if he's a star performer, then he will earn the incentives every month. So this component will be recurring in that case, but not by definition. Okay, this will still be considered as a variable salary component because the value of this component will change according to more than one aspects. So a great example for that is your monthly incentives or your annual bonus. So if you say annual bonus, the pay frequency will definitely be annual. And if you're giving this as an annual bonus, you can select which month you want to give this bonus to your employees. August, September, October. A lot of companies give Diwali bonus or Navratri bonus in the month of September or October. So if you're one such organization, you can add a bonus component in your variable section, and then you can include or exclude it from CTC. Make it taxable. Don't want to make it taxable, you can turn it off. Then you have the tax distribution option as well. You can choose between deducting income tax on that very month or deducting income tax by distributing it across the rest of the months in the financial year. It's a choice given to you. And here as well, you can keep it a flat or you can keep it slab wise. I'm going to keep it flat for now, 60,000. No, 60,000 is too high. I'm going to keep it as 5,000 rupees. And this annual bonus will be of 5,000 rupees in the month of August. I'm going to save it. So this component is created as well. Likewise, you can create any number of components with whatever name you want to give for it. And the next option is ad hoc components. Ad hoc components are the components which are basically out of the box, which you do not define in your CTC, which you do not define in your salary structure. It could be anything like your salary advance, which you don't think of when you commit CTC for your employees. It could be referral bonus. It could be a deduction as well, like loss to company or salary advance deduction or salary adjustments deduction. It could be anything. Any salary component which you have not thought about, which is not a part of the salary structure, will be considered as an ad hoc component. You can create any number of ad hoc components also. Just put in the name, make it either taxable or non-taxable. Do you want to include this in ESI or not include this in ESI? And just create it. We have mostly created all the ad hoc components which are largely used by companies in India. But if you want to create one of your own, you can. The next option is payout settings. Nothing much to understand over here. You will just add your employees' bank details. Just put the bank account number, IFSC code and everything. You can do this in bulk as well by importing an Excel sheet. Then you have 8 different payslip formats to choose from, whichever is closer to what's needed for your organization. You can choose that as your payslip format. And the next option, this is a very important and a critical feature that Kredily has introduced. This is bank integration. So now after generating your salary sheet or after generating your pay register, or the only significance that we have for doing the entire process is to do the payout. So if you're not able to do the payout, then there is no point in doing the salary processing as well. So that's where your bank integration option comes into the picture. Here you can integrate your bank account. If you're having an ICICI corporate banking bank account, you can directly integrate that and your salary will be dispersed through Kredily itself within minutes. And if you do not have an ICICI bank account, you can integrate Kredily's virtual banking as well, which we have named it as KredPay. This is just like your wallet. To give you an example, you transfer money or funds to KredPay account first, and then through KredPay account you will release salary to your employees. And even this will happen within minutes with just one OTP. It would hardly take about 5 minutes or less than that for you to release salaries every month. If you have any questions about it, I would request you to type in your questions in the chat section. And once that is done, the next option for me to deal with is the salary structure creation itself. So here you can create any number of salary structure. There is no limitations on that as well. So let me create a structure. So I'll say I'm creating a regular structure. You can define your CTC to be, you can define your basic to be 40% of CTC or 50% of CTC. You can even add a fixed value over here. You can define your HRA, you can add any other component. We created components as well. You can add any components, any number of components that you need for your salary structure. I'm adding a vehicle allowance, then medical allowance and savings. My salary structure is created. So like this, you can create department-wise salary structures, designation-wise salary structures, branch-wise salary structures. Depending on your organizational preference, you can create salary structures in Kredily, and it is very robust and there is no limitations on this. And once your structure is created, you will have to assign the structure to your employees. So you will just select your employee's name, click on assign structure, select the structure that you want to assign, and select an effective date and apply. Salary structure is assigned. You can do this for your entire organization if you want, or you can select your employees and do it in one shot. Or you can filter according to designation and then select all of them. Depending on what you want to do, how you want to do, you can select your employees and assign structures. And once the structure is assigned, you will be able to see the salary breakup for all your employees. Here, your CTC, your basic amount, your HRA, your medical allowance, and all other salary components breakup will be shown, including your income tax and your PF. Income tax is not shown over here because this is just a standard way of calculating your salaries. Then if you go to run payroll option, here is where you will get an option to validate a certain things before you process payroll. As an HR, this is very important for you to know and understand what sort of data are you dealing with for any given month. So now what is the attendance of my entire organization? How many days have my employees present? How many days are they absent? How many leaves have they applied for? How many leave requests have been approved? How many of them have been rejected? Have I revised anybody's salary? Should I put somebody's salary on hold? Should I override the income tax to someone? These are all the concerns. I wouldn't say concerns. These are all the things that an HR should think about before processing salary. That's when you can be accurate and appropriate in terms of handling your HR process and your HR jobs. And that's why Kredily thinks it is very important and critical for you to know these information. That's what I'm going to show you right now. So as you can see, let me take August month's payroll. So now system is showing that my employees are absent for these many days, and these many absent is what I have for my entire organization. Now if you want to add a loss of pay, just click on the edit button and add a loss of pay. Okay, I mean it's a past month, so it's not taking, but you get the point. So you can change your loss of pay over here. Yeah, and also it is going to show me how many leaves have my employees applied for, how many has been approved, how many has been rejected. The entire list will be shown to you. Then your salary revision. If you have revised salary for any of your employees, that details will be shown here. A list of employees whose salary has been revised will be shown. And the next option is your variable and ad hoc. This is where your variable salary components will display, but I don't have any variable components for the month of August or for the month of September. So nothing's displayed over here. And then ad hoc, if I want to add an ad hoc component to my employees, you can click on add employee, select your employee's name, select the component, enter the component value, and save it. I'm sorry, I've already added it and the payroll has been processed for August. It's a past month. But this is how you will add an employee's ad hoc component in Kredily. And once this is done, you can also hold your employee's salary by just adding their names over here. If you want to hold someone's salary, just change the status to on hold and save it. I'm not going to do that, or let me do that. Okay, I've held Venkatesh's salary for the month of August. Then your last option is to override your income tax. For whatever reason you want to override income tax for your employees, just click on the edit button, change the income tax value, and save it. Let me do it for another employee. Yeah, you can do the same thing with your professional tax as well. If you want to override it, you have an option to override it. Yeah, once your taxing, everything is verified, I mean everything is checked by you, you are done with your salary sheet generation. This is your salary sheet for the month of August. And what you can do in Kredily now is the batch processing. That means you can process salary for your employees in different intervals of time. For example, you can process salary for 5 employees today, and you can process payroll for the remaining employees maybe after 4 days or 5 days. So you can divide your employees in batches and you can process payroll at different time intervals. As you can see, I have already processed payroll for the first 3 employees in my list. I processed payroll for these employees yesterday. So now I'm going to process payroll for the remaining employees. Okay. And now I will also generate payslips for the last 4 employees in the list. Just bear with me for a moment. There's some internet issue, I guess. Yeah, so the salary has been processed for the entire organization except this employee whose salary we kept on hold. We kept Venkatesh's salary on hold. That is why his payroll has not been processed. Now, this is the entire process. So this blue symbol here indicates that the payslip has been generated as well. Now, if you want to preview the payslips, you can just click on this button. And this is the payslip for your employee. So this is the process, and it would hardly take about 20 minutes for you to do the entire setup of your organization. And once the setup is done every month, it would hardly take about 5 to 10 minutes for you to process payroll and generate payslips and do the salary payout through Kredily. This is how simple it is. If you have any questions, I would request you to write your questions on this chat section, or you can leave your numbers. We will contact you back. So I'm going to keep this webinar active for a couple of minutes so that you can all write in your questions. Looks like there's no question, so I'm going to end the webinar. So if at all you have any questions, if you want to contact us, you can write an email to us at support@kredily.com, or you can call us on our support number. We'll be available from 10 to 7, 6 days a week. Thank you all so much for joining this webinar.